Hello everybody. First and foremost, happy National Coffee Day. For us coffee lovers and you out there that are coffee lovers, this is basically Christmas for us. So go out, enjoy yourself a great cup of coffee before watching this video, or after watching this video. I don't want you to pause it halfway through. But for everybody else, it's probably just like a basic Thursday, but hopefully you enjoy the video anyways. I thought I'd do something a little bit different and ask you guys to ask me anything. This is coffee related, not coffee related, just personally related. And you guys came up with a few good questions. So I thought, why not answer them on here? I'm not gonna get through all of them, but I'm gonna get through some that I thought really embody Alfred drinking coffee and coffee. But to answer your questions, I'm gonna need a good cup of coffee because, as I said, it's National Coffee Day. So let's go make a good cup of coffee. Okay, so we made coffee. Thank you again, Fellow Products, for the solid Carter. I'm gonna get to enjoy my coffee, so give me a sec. Perfection. Now, a couple questions. First one that I got, and actually relates to the type of coffee that I just made, is French press or Aeropress. Which one would I choose? Now, personally, it depends on the time of day. I like to use the Aeropress first thing in the morning. I just used it now, but I like to use it first thing in the morning because I use it for making an individual cup of coffee. It's super easy to use. It allows for a little bit more aeration than the French press, and it's not as bold of a flavor when it comes to the coffee as the French press would be. I'll explain that in a second. But I find that it's just the convenience of it first thing in the morning. Like I said, you make the individual cup of coffee, and cleaning up is a breeze. It releases that condensed pod where you can basically toss that in the compost. You rinse it out, clean it a little bit, and you're golden. You can enjoy your cup of coffee with minimal cleanup afterwards. Whereas the French press takes a little bit more time. You gotta rinse it out, you gotta toss the beans a little bit into the compost, maybe scoop it out. There's a little bit more messiness to it. And first thing in the morning, I don't wanna deal with that. So I just go with the Aeropress. Now, overall, I do like the French press a little bit more. And the reason is the metal filter. The metal filter allows you to retain the oils that are in the coffee itself. And the oils have the majority of the flavor in the coffee. So when you're looking for bold, acidic flavors, that's coming from the oils themselves. So to avoid undercutting them like you would with a paper filter, I would use the French press, and that allows for a more dynamic, bold flavor. Now, I also like to use my French press because you get to make more than one cup of coffee. And I love to share my coffee because, as you all know, coffee is a community. So I like to share that coffee and share that experience with whoever's over, whoever wants that cup of coffee. So I'll usually go towards making a French press. But if I had to pick and choose between the two, like I said, it depends on the time of day for me, but I would focus on the French press more so than the Aeropress, just because it allows for that sense of community more so than just the individual cup that you get from the Aeropress. Now, if you have a French press that's a little bit smaller and it only makes one cup, then you don't really care about that sense of community. You're just focusing on the cup of coffee, but I still would go with the French press over the Aeropress, although both make a exceptional cup of coffee. Now, the next question is, what made you start Alfred drinking coffee? I've talked about this a few times, but figured might as well answer it on here since someone asked. And I really started it because I originally started my accounting profession at a coffee shop, or the head office of coffee shops. And I got really into coffee that way. I started to experience it a lot more. And when I switched jobs, I still loved coffee. I still needed coffee to get through my day-to-day. And I started just exploring around the area, and that kind of led to me really getting into coffee. Then a couple of my coworkers basically said, you need to start an Instagram page because you want to get sent free coffee. So I'm like, sure, if I can get sent free coffee, why not? Yeah, I know it sounds selfish, but that's really what started it. And I thought it was gonna be a joke. I thought it was gonna last maybe like a week and then people get bored of it. But we threw around a bunch of ideas and I just figured, let me be a boring accountant reviewing coffee. And it just took off. I didn't expect it, no one expected it. And companies started reaching out being like, we want to work with you. Companies, like I said, wanted to send me coffee. And that's when I know that like the account was working. But then I saw it as it grew, as it built, I saw that it was more than just me getting free coffee. It was me being able to introduce people to different coffees. And that was kind of my niche. That was kind of my goal, or my value, was introducing people to new coffees that they might not usually get. And I just love that. I started also getting messages from people being like, I only tried this coffee shop because you mentioned it, or I really enjoyed this cup of coffee because you talked about it and I went to get it. And that to me is worth all the work, effort, and time that I put into this account, because that in itself allows me to build that community, allows me to grow the coffee community a lot more. And I'm just getting people to experience different coffees, which is incredible to me. The fact that people even listen to me is shocking. But the fact that a lot of people are going out and trying new things, trying new coffees because of what I've been reviewing is incredible. And I can't thank people enough for even listening to me. So that was kind of how it started and what it led to and what it built to. The next question was, how'd you fit all that in them jeans? I'm assuming you mean coffee, and if you mean coffee, maybe don't put it in your jeans, because that just feels uncomfortable. I would suggest using a carder like I have here, and this will store your coffee pretty well. If that's not what you mean, then we'll have to discuss later. But yeah, maybe just don't pour coffee down your pants. The next question is, how's a coffee bean roasted to make a medium, light, or dark roast? Now, I actually got to experience this when I was working with JJ Bean, and I've actually seen this at different roasters. The medium, light, dark roast gradient, I guess, is really dependent on the bean itself. So a light roast is just lightly roasted in an actual roaster with high heat and high pressure to allow for just the most amount of extraction for the flavor. Now, one thing to note that you might not know is coffee beans themselves have the most flavor when they're raw, when they're first picked and dried out. They'll have the most flavor at that point. The more you roast them, the more you add that little burnt flavor to it, and that's kind of what leads to the dark roast. The dark roast is when you burn out all the flavor from the bean and all you have is that roasted smell and flavor and texture. And personally, not a fan. I don't know any coffee snob that is a fan, so you try to avoid that as much as possible. But with light roasts, it really depends on the bean, depends on where it came from, depends on the farm that it came from, depends on the flavor profile that you're trying to extract. And you really want to maximize the flavor without over roasting the bean. So what they'll do is they'll try to time it proportionally. I've found that some roasters will roast the majority of their beans between 14 to 15 minutes in a massive roaster to allow for a light roast. I've seen 17 minutes for a medium. I've seen maybe 20 minutes for that dark roast. But again, depends on the roaster, depends on the individual. Light, medium, dark roast as a gradient, like I was saying before, is a very broad range. And the more you get into coffee, the more you'll realize that it's not so much about the light, medium, or dark that you're following, but just the flavor profiles that you're trying to find. And you'll start to notice what kind of coffees you like more, because again, what I like might not be what you like. So if you like a light roasted coffee, what one roaster might consider light, another might consider medium, and dark for that matter. It really depends on the roaster, depends on where you get the coffee from, and depends on your flavor profile, or your preferred flavor profile. So that's kind of what I would suggest looking into. Next question. Why are you so cool? I'm not, like, in any way possible. I'm the furthest thing from cool. I'm an accountant, and my only hobby is drinking coffee, which is a normal thing that everyone does every single day. So I'm not cool, like, in any capacity whatsoever. And if you want references as to why I'm not cool, just ask every single one of my friends. I still don't understand why they hang out with me. They ask me every once in a while, they're like, why do we hang out with you? It's a valid question. I'm not cool. If you think I'm cool, I appreciate it, but you're wrong. Next question is favorite roaster and favorite single origin coffee. I can't really answer the single origin coffee because I've tried thousands upon thousands of different origins, and there's so many unique flavors, and it's very hard for me to say, like, this is the one. There's a few that come to mind. I actually tried one incredible coffee from Proud Mary, and it had notes of apricot, notes of pineapple, and notes of hazelnut, and each one of those flavors you can actually taste in the coffee. Sometimes, like, they're subtle, sometimes they're just tones in there, but this was as if I bit into an apricot, and then later on that changed into a pineapple, and you can taste the note at the very finish, and it was just incredible. It was an experience in coffee. Another one that comes to mind is from Monogram, and again, don't know the specific origin. It's very difficult for me to pinpoint because, like I said, I've been drinking coffee for a long time. I don't memorize the names, unfortunately. I probably should, but I don't memorize the names. But there was one that I tried that had blueberry notes, and it was an Ethiopian origin, and it was as if I bit into a handful of blueberries. It was just the most exceptional cup of coffee, and the way that my brain works, the way that my memory works with these types of questions and these types of coffees is that I really just remember the flavor that I tried, the experience that I had, and the experience with Monogram's coffee at the time was just phenomenal. It's something that I tell people all the time about. Like, I'll constantly bring back that time that I had that blueberry coffee. I actually remember talking to the team at Monogram, and I'm like, I need to find this bag again, but it was nowhere to be found. But that's kind of how it works in the coffee scene. It's really constantly changing. You constantly find new roasters, or you constantly find new farms. You find new origins, you find new exotic flavors that you're really trying to extract. So every year coffee companies will have different flavors. So it really just, again, for the specific bag, I can't really narrow it down. It's really about your personal experience. In terms of roasters, there's a few that come to mind, but the reason I don't bring this up, and this is more personal preference more so than anything, but I find that voting one versus the other in the grand scheme of things isn't really beneficial, because at the end of the day, it's very subjective. What I could like, another coffee snob might not like, and vice versa. And at the end of the day, it's someone's livelihood. I'm not about to discredit or basically devalue another coffee roaster compared to another, because they are working day in, day out, and me saying that their coffee's not that great, or this coffee's better than that coffee, or what have you, I try to avoid that as much as possible, because at the end of the day, it is someone's livelihood. So that being said, there's a few coffee shops that do stand out for me, but that is my personal preference. And the whole point of Alfred Drinking Coffee, the whole point of these discussions and these conversations that I have is not so I can tell you what I think is the best. It's to have you try out different coffees and for you to find out what's the best for you. I'll always suggest new coffees, but that doesn't mean that this is the best or the worst or what have you. It's just giving you options so that you can go out and try different coffees yourself. So anyways, that's a bunch of the questions that I thought were of value to answer, mainly because they entertained me. But because you sat and listened to this the entire way through, I figured why not do a giveaway as well for anyone that watched this video. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get you guys to comment and subscribe to my channel. If you subscribe and comment to this video specifically, you're gonna be entered to win any product off my clothing line. Go to alphadrinking.com/collections and you can find any one of these t-shirts in multiple colors. Right here is my logo. You can also find sweaters, hoodies, and just a bunch of different things on there. There's mugs and all that. So 5 lucky winners are gonna win one of my products. So if you can, subscribe and comment on this video, and in a week or so, depends on when I release the next video, I will announce some winners. So hopefully you get a chance to win. Anyways, as usual, I hope you guys are enjoying a great cup of coffee. I hope you guys are enjoying National Coffee Day, and I really just hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, especially on this one, because again, you get a chance to win. So why not? And have yourself a great cup of coffee. Because you know I will.